Welcome to Fractured Chaos.
You know what's funny about life-changing moments? They rarely announce themselves. The day Jenny moved into my house, that day changed everything. But at the time, it just seemed like a practical solution to a temporary problem. Let me start from the beginning. I'm Justin Mercer. 6 months ago, I was sitting across from my wife, Teresa, in our kitchen. 8 years of marriage, and it had come down to this: her asking for a divorce and me giving it to her. No fighting, no dramatic pleas, just a quiet, "If that's what you want." Maybe I should have fought harder. Maybe I didn't fight at all because, deep down, I knew we'd been over for a long time. Everyone was shocked when the news spread. "But you two seemed so perfect," they'd say. That's the thing about perfection. It's exhausting to maintain. Behind our carefully curated social media posts and dinner party smiles, we were two people who'd forgotten why we fell in love in the first place. The divorce was quick, clean, almost suspiciously so, like Teresa couldn't get away fast enough. She took a job offer in Chicago. A fresh start, she called it. I kept the house, she kept her freedom, and just like that, 8 years of marriage was filed away in county records. Then came the silence. You don't realize how loud emptiness can be until you're living in it. Our 3-bedroom suburban house, once filled with dinner parties and future plans, now echoed with just my footsteps. I'd come home from work, call out "I'm home" from pure habit, and then remember there was no one to hear me. That's when Jenny stepped in. Jenny Calloway, my best friend since we were 7 years old, catching tadpoles in the creek behind my parents' house. The one person who didn't take sides or vanish after the divorce. She'd been coming over more often, bringing dinner, making sure I didn't spend every evening staring at walls. "This place is depressing me," she announced one evening, looking around at the dishes piled in the sink, the takeout containers forming a small mountain in the trash. "When was the last time you cleaned?" I shrugged. What's the point? No one sees it but me. She put her hands on her hips, that stance I'd seen 1,000 times when she was about to take charge. "That's exactly the problem. You need someone around to keep you from turning into a complete disaster." I thought she was just going to help me clean up. Instead, she dropped a bomb. "My lease is up next month. I'm looking for a new place." "So?" I said, not connecting the dots. She rolled her eyes. "So, you have 2 empty bedrooms and clearly need a babysitter. Let me move in. I'll pay rent, you'll have company, and maybe you'll remember to shower daily. Win-win." It made perfect sense. Jenny and I had been friends for over 25 years. We'd survived middle school awkwardness, high school drama, college distance, and now my divorce. She'd seen me at my worst and still stuck around. Plus, she was right. I needed someone to pull me out of this funk. "Okay," I said, "move in." What I didn't tell her, what I barely admitted to myself, was how much I'd always cared for her, not just as a friend. There had been moments over the years, glances that lingered too long, hugs that felt too right. But timing is everything, isn't it? When I was single, she was dating someone. When she was available, I'd just met Teresa. So I buried those feelings deep, convinced they were just confused friendship emotions. The day Jenny moved in was chaos. Her furniture somehow multiplied when it entered my house. Her books infiltrated my shelves. Her favorite mug took residence next to mine in the cabinet. And something else happened, something neither of us planned. The house felt like a home again. "This is weird, right?" she asked that first night, as we collapsed on the couch surrounded by half-unpacked boxes. "Us living together after all these years?" "Good weird," I replied, and it was. The routine we fell into was so natural it was almost scary. Morning coffee shared over the kitchen island, texts throughout the day about dinner plans, taking turns cooking, movie nights on the couch. It was comfortable. It was easy. It was intimate in a way that had nothing to do with physical touch. And yet, 3 weeks after Jenny moved in, something shifted. We were making dinner, some complicated pasta dish she'd found online. She was chopping vegetables, I was stirring sauce, music playing in the background. Then that song came on. You know, the one from that road trip we took years ago to the beach. Without thinking, I grabbed her hand, spun her around. She laughed, surprised, and then we were dancing in the kitchen, her head fitting perfectly under my chin. When the song ended, neither of us moved away. Her eyes met mine, and 25 years of friendship suddenly felt like it had been leading to this exact moment.
"Justin," she whispered. "Just my name." But the way she said it, like a question and an answer all at once.
I kissed her. Or maybe she kissed me. I still don't know who moved first. What I do know is that it felt like finding something I didn't realize I'd lost. Like the world tilted and suddenly everything made sense. The thing about crossing that line with your best friend? There's no going back. That night changed us. Suddenly, the spare bedroom was just for show. Suddenly, roommates felt like the world's biggest understatement. "We should probably talk about this," Jenny said the next morning, her head on my chest. "Probably," I agreed, but instead I just kissed her again. We decided to keep things quiet at first, not because we were ashamed, but because it was ours. Sacred. New. Also, small towns love nothing more than scandal, and newly divorced man hooks up with childhood best friend had all the makings of prime gossip. But secrets have expiration dates, especially when you're as happy as we were. People started noticing. The way we'd stand too close at the grocery store. The way she'd absently touch my arm while talking. The way I'd look at her like she was the answer to a question I'd been asking my whole life. 4 months into Jenny living with me, 3.5 months into us being more than friends, there was a knock on our door early Sunday morning. I was in the shower, so Jenny answered it, wearing my old college t-shirt that barely reached mid-thigh. "Teresa," I heard her say, surprise evident in her voice. My blood ran cold. I shut off the water, wrapped a towel around my waist, and stepped into the hallway just in time to hear my ex-wife's shocked voice. "You're living here with Justin?" Jenny, to her credit, didn't flinch. "Yes," she said simply. "I moved in a few months ago." That's when Teresa saw me, dripping wet in the hallway. The look on her face, shock giving way to understanding, giving way to something like anger, told me everything. She hadn't expected this, any of it. "I came to talk," she said, still staring at me. I didn't realize you had company." "Not company," I said, finding my voice. "Jenny lives here now." That's when Jenny did something that shocked us both. She walked over to me, kissed me briefly but unmistakably on the lips, and said, "I'll give you 2 a minute," before disappearing into the bedroom. Our bedroom. The silence after she left was deafening. Teresa stared at me, her mouth slightly open. "You and Jenny?" she finally managed. "How long has this been going on?" I could have lied, could have pretended it started after she left, but I was done with pretending. "It's been building for 25 years, I said honestly. "We just finally stopped ignoring it." She nodded slowly, processing, then reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. "I came to give you this," she said. "My job in Chicago fell through. I'm moving back to town and I thought maybe we could try again." I took the envelope. Inside was a key, the spare key to our house that she'd taken with her. My house now. The key she was symbolically returning along with herself. "Teresa," I started, but she cut me off. "Don't," she said. "I see I'm too late. I just never imagined." "Jenny? Your best friend Jenny? The girl you've always insisted was just a friend?" That's when the second shock of the morning hit. From behind me, Jenny's voice. "He wasn't lying. We were just friends. Until we weren't." I turned to see Jenny fully dressed now, composed but with a slight tremble in her hands that only someone who really knew her would notice. She walked up beside me, not touching me, but standing close enough that our shoulders nearly brushed. "I've loved him since we were 16, Jenny continued, speaking directly to Teresa. "But I respected your marriage. I kept my distance. I never crossed that line." A pause. "Until you chose to end things." Teresa's eyes widened. 16? All this time? Jenny nodded. All this time. The revelation hung in the air between us. I stared at Jenny, processing what she'd just confessed. 16? That summer we spent at the lake? The night before my wedding when she'd hugged me too tightly and whispered, "I just want you to be happy?" All those years? Why didn't you ever tell me? I asked. forgetting Teresa was even there. Jenny finally looked at me, her eyes soft. Because you were happy, and that was enough for me. Teresa cleared her throat, bringing us back to the moment. I should go, she said quietly. She turned to leave, then stopped at the doorway. For what it's worth, I really did love you, Justin. I know, I said. I loved you too, but maybe not the way you deserved. After Teresa left, Jenny and I stood in silence, the weight of everything that had just happened pressing down on us. 16, I finally asked. She smiled, a little sad. Pathetic, right? I shook my head, pulling her close. Beautiful, I corrected, and tragic that I made you wait so long. The news spread quickly, as news does in small towns. My ex-wife was back. I was living with my best friend. We were more than friends now. People took sides. Some thought I'd moved on too quickly. Others thought Teresa had no right to be upset after leaving. Everyone had an opinion. But here's the thing about opinions. They matter a lot less when you're finally where you're supposed to be. Jenny and I weathered it together. The whispers, the stares, the awkwardness of running into Teresa at the grocery store. Does it bother you? I asked Jenny one night. All the talk? She laughed. Justin, I waited over a decade to be with you. You think a few gossips are going to scare me off now? There was something else, though. Something she wasn't telling me. I'd catch her checking her phone more frequently, stepping outside for calls. My mind went to dark places. Was she having second thoughts? Was the reality of being with me not living up to the fantasy she'd built? 3 weeks after Teresa's surprise visit, I came home early from work to find Jenny in deep conversation with someone in our living room. As I pushed open the door, they both looked up, startled. It was Teresa. What's going on? I asked, confused and, if I'm honest, a little hurt. Was Jenny going behind my back? Was this some kind of twisted negotiation over me? Jenny stood up, coming to my side. It's not what you think, she said quickly. Teresa came to me. She needed someone to talk to. Teresa nodded, her eyes red from crying. I'm pregnant, she said simply. The room seemed to tilt sideways. Pregnant? I repeated. Is it mine? She shook her head. Remember Thomas from my office? The reason I took that job in Chicago was because well, it doesn't matter now. He wants nothing to do with it, or me. I sat down heavily, trying to process this new information. So you came back hoping we could get back together? That I'd raise another man's child? I was desperate, she admitted. But seeing you with Jenny, I realized how selfish that was. How unfair to you. I looked at Jenny, still confused about why they were talking. She squeezed my hand. Teresa needs support, she explained. Not romantically, just as a friend. She's alone and scared. That day changed everything again. Not just my relationship with Jenny, but my understanding of love. Because watching her, the woman who'd waited years for me, extend compassion to the woman who'd left me, that showed me a depth of heart I'd never fully appreciated before. Over the next few months, an unexpected friendship formed. Not between Teresa and me, that would take more time, but between Teresa and Jenny. They'd meet for coffee. Jenny went with her to doctor's appointments when I was at work. When Teresa's family essentially disowned her for getting pregnant outside of marriage, it was Jenny who helped her find a new apartment, who organized a small baby shower. Why are you doing all this? I asked her one night. You don't owe her anything. Jenny looked at me like I was missing something obvious. I'm not doing it for her, she said. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. And because... She hesitated. Because if things had been different, if she'd realized sooner that she wanted you back, I might be the one needing help now. Last week, I did something I never thought I would. I asked Jenny to marry me, not because of some grand romantic gesture or because it was the expected next step, but because waking up next to your best friend, the person who knows every version of you and loves them all, is the kind of rare gift you don't take for granted. I proposed in our kitchen, the same spot where we danced and first kissed. No fancy dinner, no elaborate setup. Just me, on one knee, holding up my grandmother's ring that I'd had resized in secret. 25 years is a long time to wait, I told her. I don't want to waste another second. She said yes before I even finished asking. Later, as we lay in bed, she confessed that she'd almost told me how she felt dozens of times over the years. "The night before your wedding to Teresa," she admitted, "I drove to your hotel room, stood outside your door for 20 minutes, almost knocked." "Why didn't you?" I asked. "Because I saw how you looked at her," she said simply, "and I wanted that look too much to settle for being your backup plan or your mistake." Yesterday, something unexpected happened. Teresa came by to drop off some mail that had been sent to her old address, her pregnancy now obvious at 7 months. She noticed the ring on Jenny's finger immediately. "Congratulations," she said, and the surprising thing was, she meant it. "You two make sense in a way that—" She trailed off, then finished. "In a way that we never did, Justin." After she left, Jenny turned to me. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if she hadn't asked for the divorce? If she'd never left?" I thought about it honestly before answering. I think we would have stayed together, comfortable but not complete, and I would never have known what I was missing. Jenny smiled, but there was a shadow of something in her eyes. "So it took her leaving for you to see me?" I shook my head. "No. I've always seen you, Jenny. I just didn't know I was allowed to look. People still talk about us sometimes. The high school best friends who ended up together after his divorce. The woman who moved in just as friends and became so much more. They speculate about timelines, wonder if there was overlap, judge without knowing the full story. But here's what I know. Sometimes the greatest love stories aren't about meeting someone new. They're about finally seeing what's been right in front of you all along. Jenny moving in didn't change my life because it led to romance. It changed my life because it forced me to be honest about what I truly wanted. Who I truly wanted. Who I've always wanted, perhaps, since we were kids catching tadpoles and making promises we were too young to understand. And if people want to call that scandalous, let them. Some scandals are worth every whisper.